Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate so many wonderful people who are working so hard to make this a great place to live, work, and play. And that really applies to folks all across the state of Mississippi. It's such a great opportunity to celebrate these people who are working so hard to establish legacies. Legacies that will live as sparks in others, that will light fires in others, that hopefully will live long past the folk, our guests, and long past myself. This is sort of a digital history book that we're developing, and it's a real honor to have the opportunity to have these lessons. Now let's shift gears and move over to our first guest, who's the mayor of the city of Ocean Springs, Bobby Cox. Someone who's been on my show a couple of times before. I'm really excited about Bobby Cox because think about his time running a barbershop and the conversations that take place there. It's just literally this built-in focus group that he has to be able to listen to people. But it's great to catch up with him now that he's hit the ground running. Bobby, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, Ricky. Thank you for having me.
Listen, you just had the breakfast with the mayor last Wednesday morning. How did that go? How is it going just in general?
It was a really nice breakfast. I was really surprised because we had it's supposed to be a quarterly breakfast with the mayor, and this one was moved up a little sooner, obviously because Ocean Springs is such a festival town. We're not going to have time to have breakfast with the mayor during the festivals. We'll be out volunteering and helping with events. So when I got there, I was expecting a smaller than usual crowd, but it was standing room only and really a great event. And Bacchus and Fields Italian sponsored the event along with the Chamber of Commerce. And the food was fantastic and the atmosphere was really nice.
Listen, I had Cynthia on the show recently from the Chamber. And, of course, they wear three hats. They've got Main Street, they've got that tourism welcome center, they've got the Chamber. And when I'm having conversation with Cynthia Sutton on the show, and this goes back a long way, you're talking about passionate, man. You think about the Peter Anderson Festival, the other festivals that you have, their ability to adjust things, for example, during COVID, but also learn from those experiences, trying to figure out how can they keep this being the pinnacle event it is, not just for Ocean Springs, but for the coast. You're lucky to have a partnership with the Chamber the way you do, aren't you?
We are very lucky to have the Chamber. And I'm going to tell you, Cynthia is a team of three. You would think she had a team of 20. With all the events that they put on. But that team of three with the volunteer crews that they put together, they handle a lot of big events, a lot of them.
Yeah.
We're very thankful.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you think about volunteers, I think about what it takes to pull off a Peter Anderson festival. And when you've got a small team, which she does, but you have with that determination and learning from last year's best practice and capturing those learnings and making improvements and being able to serve the needs of the hundreds of volunteers that it takes. I think about Cruising the Coast. Woody Bailey, that team's, 2 or 3 people too. And literally over 1,000 volunteers to pull off this multi-city event in Cruising the Coast. Gosh, man, you think about the work these nonprofits like those that are doing events like Cruising the Coast or Peter Anderson Festival. Man, we're lucky to have these leaders, aren't we?
We are very lucky. Talking about Woody Bailey and Cruising the Coast, they do a fantastic job. And here in Ocean Springs, we have our own gentleman we call Mr. Cruising, is Mr. Chick Cody. I don't know if you know Mr. Chick well or not, but Mr. Chick is out there every event. He's there at 3:30 in the morning, and you got to make him go home. He won't leave until 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes. And so we built a little crew behind Mr. Chick and between Mr. Chick and the car club from Pascagoula and other. I think car clubs, they assign them to each venue. So we've had a couple different car clubs work here in Ocean Springs. But with them and our crew, we've handled Ocean Springs pretty well.
Yeah, it is. It really is a fantastic event. It's a great stop on the multiple stops that are part of the Cruising the Coast event. And let's pray we have great weather again. Interestingly enough, just as a side note, I've written 6 or 7 columns about the need to form some kind of Coastal Mississippi Economic Development Alliance, not to do away with anything, but a new table, hopefully led by something like an organization like the Business Council, that brings ports and tourism and all these organizations, the airports, all to the table around the big stuff, not for general economic development that takes place in each of the counties, but to start to dream bigger. One of the things that Woody and I had shared my most recent column in the show that I had with Woody last week. And when I got done, Woody pointed out to me, and I think this was a great point. In fact, I worked with Woody. Woody was a very active member of the tourism committee that I led for the Governor's Commission after Hurricane Katrina. So Woody and I go back a long way. But he was pointing out that one of the great things about cruising is it's doing that now regionally. It's bringing together from Waveland to Moss Point and Pascagoula and all points in between, including Diamond Head, all these counties and cities together. It really is a sort of this working best practice. And I just think we need to take that to the economic development realm and start thinking bigger and diversify our economy beyond government and gaming and so on. But that's just a side note. If you want to comment about that, you can. But I think cruising is a great best practice.
I think it is. I mean, anytime 10,000 cars registered for this event the last few years, and I think we're going to go over 10,000 this year. We're looking forward to it. Ocean Springs really enjoys Cruising the Coast. It's unfortunate when we're here working ours, I don't get to go tour other cities and see how theirs is going. But I enjoy standing out, waving and shaking hands with everybody and welcoming them to Ocean Springs.
Well, listen, let's move back to the breakfast with the mayor for a second. You walk in, you told me that you were expecting not a full crowd, it's standing room only. You're the new mayor. Everyone's pulling on you in all these different directions. It's becoming a new mayor, and this is true of every new mayor that I talk to, and has been for as long as I've been in touch with new mayors. There is a push and a pull that's taking place. How do you start a meeting like a breakfast with the mayor in a way that kind of loosens the crowd?
Well, with my background being a barber, first thing I opened it up. I said, let's have a little barbershop talk. And so, look, we started off talking about the Greyhounds, talking about the college football, and we even dove off into the Saints a little bit. So that lightened the mood and opened the air and just rolled right into the politics.
What a brilliant way to connect the dots, because, I mean, when you think about whether you're an Ole Miss fan, a State fan, a Southern Miss fan, a Greyhound fan, you got people on both sides of the political spectrum who are going to be involved. Football and the outdoors may be the two things where we can go do stuff together and disagree with each other politically completely. But as the mayor of a city like Ocean Springs, being involved in divisive politics is not the way you raise the bar of that city. It's bringing people together, isn't it, Bobby?
Correct. And what better way than talk about the Greyhounds? We've got a fantastic ball team this year, and Coach Bramlett and the staff has done an excellent job. Of course, I think they've got a lot of special talent on this team, a lot of great kids, and we're looking forward to a really good year this year.
So you're sitting there as a new mayor, and you think about people who are involved in economic development. I'm thinking a lot about private investors who are invested in your city. You look over inside your administration, you think about the police chief and the fire chief and people who are involved in parks and recreation and utilities. And I mean, the list goes on and on. But you have to be blown away by what it takes to make a city like Ocean Springs tick.
I'm going to tell you, it's the employees of this city that keeps this city ticking. Stepping foot in this office, we're here, we're directing, where to go next, what to do next, but they're doing the job. And it's eye-opening to sit in this office and to watch the personnel in this building, the way they perform and work. And there is no downtime. They are on it from the time they get here to the time they leave. And I'm very proud of my staff.
Yeah, it's clear that you are, and this next part we'll actually talk about when we get back on the other side, because I don't want to start this part of the conversation and then run right into a break since we're looking at less than a minute. But every new mayor in coastal Mississippi, some have several new members of their councils or board of aldermen. There's a lot of, I think about what it takes for a team to become a high performing team. You form the team, and this is the mayor and the alderman coming together. There might be some storming that you have to do. And then there's what we call norming, where people start to learn each other and start to kind of get things done. And then you start performing. You actually start getting things done. And then as you work your way a little bit further down that continuum, actually begin to excel as a group. And whether you excel or not, often is in the hands of the mayor. The mayor's got to be the one that brings people together, calmly takes the feedback, lets people sort of find their feet underneath them, and then kind of works their way through the storming and whatever. I'm curious if there's been any storming in Ocean Springs and what that process might look like with Mayor Bobby Cox. We'll talk about that when we come back on the other side. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We're visiting with Mayor Bobby Cox from Ocean Springs. And the last time he and I talked, he talked about the importance of infrastructure, this notion of the charm of Ocean Springs and maintaining that. There's this delicate balance between sort of this bedroom community that so many people covet and economic development, and finding kind of where that middle place is. There's a little bit of magic to that at times. And also the notion of public safety and why that's important. Listen, Bobby, one of the things I remember so well as publisher, when we did readership studies, Ocean Springs and Pascrest Jam, but usually it was Ocean Springs as number one, was one of the most literate communities in coastal Mississippi. In other words, they devoured the Sun Herald. They were active in the community. They paid attention to what was happening, and they had deep, deep passion for that place. And when you have that, especially in the day of social media, that people can get worked up about certain things. There can be polarizing issues and so on. And the Board of Aldermen can be pulled in a bunch of different ways. As you assess kind of where you are now, starting as the new mayor, how's it going between you and the Board of Aldermen, and how are you doing in terms of focusing on those three major priorities?
The board is all mostly new. We've got two returning aldermen and myself as alderman at large back in the mayor's seat now. It's a new team, and we're learning each other. We will be to that norm. We're working to get there. The balance you were talking about, the balance is what everybody tries to get to, and we're going to strive and work hard to get to that balance and try to stay there. But as far as building our team, we've hired probably 18 new employees from the time I've taken office to now. And they're learning their roles. We're learning them. We're still in that team building. We're working toward that norm you were talking about. And when we get there, then you're going to see us perform. We're not far off, but we're almost there.
I can remember early conversations with people like Billy Hughes and Fofo Gillage and Billy Knight. And I mean, I could name so many because all of us have talked about it, but they each can tell me, and I'm sure you can as well, the very moment where something happened in the community that reminded you the responsibility you have for public safety. And, there have been a couple of issues recently in downtown Ocean Springs that scare people, scare you, I'm sure. But it provides an opportunity to lead. But can you remember the moment that you literally felt, holy mackerel, that this is one of my key responsibilities? Not that you didn't know it going in, but was there something that happened that just really got your attention and said, man, I got to stay focused on this?
Yeah, public safety is top priority for us, for our visitors and our residents alike. We did have an event here a couple weeks back that, we had a shooting and then followed up the following weekend with another shooting in downtown area. And that caught my attention. Nobody was hurt, thank goodness. Nobody was hit. but that's not the kind of activity that we want around Ocean Springs. We're not going to accept that in Ocean Springs. And so I felt that we needed to do something about it. So we did. We met. We had a special call meeting, and we had a last call over the holiday weekend where the bars quit serving at 1:30 in the morning and closed at 2. It was not a popular move, but I really feel like for public safety and to bring calmness back to our city, it was needed. It was the right move.
Hey, listen, when I was in New Orleans as publisher of the Times-Picayune, I had many conversations with Mitch Landry, the mayor of New Orleans at the time, about the challenges in the city. And there are so many different challenges there. If we were to talk about like flooding the zone like they're doing in Washington, D.C. right now, he would point out that we can't even fill the positions we have. I remember a conversation I had with the mayor where there were 600 openings in the police department in New Orleans. But aside from that, if I think what we're learning about what they're doing in Washington, D.C. right now is that when there is police presence, when you can call it flooding the zone or just presence, when there's an expectation around public safety, it makes a difference. And do you have your own developing point of view about that?
Yes. Well, 600 vacancies, that makes my 18 employees sound very small, but wow. I can't imagine having that big of a police force, to be honest with you. That's humongous. But as far as flooding the zone, our police force, we are probably lacking maybe 2 positions right now. So we do have a full staff. And, over the holiday weekend, they definitely flooded the zone. And they're having added patrols to make sure things doesn't escalate back to where it was. But, I think Ocean Springs is just a nice little quiet town, and our normal patrol is usually adequate. There's no need in flooding the zone, normally. So, that's my take. When needed, you have to flood the zone, I guess. But other than that, normal patrols are fine.
I get it. I mean, in some respects, the city is facing the consequences of its success. I mean, that's part of the deal. And, various businesses open and people go to those businesses. Some are more popular than others. Some are more nightlife oriented than others. It's almost impossible to decide or to control, in fact, when someone shows up that may have had some sort of alternative motive for being there. Or maybe they had a bent to do something bad, and it just, the right kind of anger surfaced and they did it. But these are the challenges every city has. Every city has these challenges when it comes to finding success, especially when you're talking about, restaurants and bars. And I mean, it's just part of finding that balance. And I think Ocean Springs will find it too, but sometimes you just got to respond very specifically, don't you?
Yes, and that's what I feel like we did, and I think it was done at the right time. And right now, I think it's worked. We've had a very pleasant 2 weekends, the past 2 weekends, and everybody's enjoyed downtown. I mean, downtown is packed. There's really people walking the streets, going to boutique shops and restaurants, and things have been nice. It really has.
Yeah, listen, in past conversations with your predecessor, we talked about private investment pouring into the city. I remember early conversations with Fofo Gillish in Biloxi where he talked about his phone was literally ringing out the hook. And then I don't even think there's any available land in downtown Biloxi these days. Same thing with Jay Willis and Pascagoula, just booming with private investment and whatever. I bet your phone is still ringing. I bet there are people who want to be part of this rising tide of Ocean Springs.
We do. I mean, people are wanting to be in Ocean Springs. They want to bring their business here, and that's really fortunate for us that we have that problem. Another issue we've been faced is parking, and I think when you have a parking problem, that's a good problem because that means your businesses are doing well. So that's something that we, it is a problem. You got to address it, but it's a good problem.
It really is. You look at some of the more recent openings that have taken place there. And I mean, we're talking about millions in investment in that city. You don't make millions of investment in a city if you don't have complete confidence, or at least as close to complete confidence as you can have, that the long-term proposition of that investment is going to be a positive one. And that's great to see, isn't it?
Yes. We the last large developments, the 1515 Government Street, and it is really a beautiful place. The restaurants, the hotel, the condominiums, and then that's our public-private parking garage, in the back. So that's going to address hopefully some of our parking issues.
Hey, listen, going back to the breakfast with the mayor, what are some of we only have like 2 minutes left. So what's one or two big items that you shared with the group there?
Well, I was really just following up on projects we've got going. And one of the biggest projects is the Mary C. O'Keefe window rehabilitation. The way that building was built, the bricks are allowing moisture in, and the moisture is rusting out the lintels for the windows. And so we had a $1.1 million grant that we started the project, but it's going to take another at least $4 million to finish the project. So phase one is complete. We got the west end and a third of the back of the building. Now we've got to do the rest of the back, the east end, and then the whole front. So we're working with Senator Roger Wicker's office trying to address funding for the next two phases, and hopefully we can land that funding and bring that building back to its prime.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out that is a really important building for community events, isn't it?
It is. It's been packed out the last 2 weekends. I rode by and there's just no parking spaces that we had. The theater groups that are performing in there, we have songs and stories in there. We've got the Hall of Fame induction for the songwriters this coming Thursday night. Well, the 18th. The 18th will be the induction. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that.
Well, that's all really, really good stuff. It's been a pleasure to spend some time with you, man. I love seeing your smile, your passion for your city, and I look forward to staying in touch and sharing the good news from Ocean Springs.
Well, thank you, Ricky. Thank you for having us.
It's definitely my pleasure. We'll see you after this break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll see you after this.